It's important to note that only a handful of elite European mathematicians and close colleagues fully understood calculus in the immediate years after Newton developed it in the 1660s. It was considered highly complex even in the decades following its publication. However, the Jesuits were so proficient in academic matters that not only did they oversee the work of virtually all of the great minds in science, but that they came out with a publication of Newton's Principia of their own, called the Jesuit edition. The 3-volume critical edition featured extensive mathematical commentary and notes, with the first volume released in 1739. In other words, very few people had input in the outcome of Earth's motion, or lack of it. The Jesuits, while openly declaring a controversy with Scripture, appear to be quietly and mathematically encouraging the heliocentric model and the movement of the Earth. But how does the movement of the Earth relate to their objectives at suppressing the Protestant faith during the Counter-Reformation and during the Scientific Revolt? The introduction of Isaac Newton's theory of universal gravitation in the late 17th century, which hinged on the existence of a vacuum, served as a fundamental catalyst for modern naturalism and atheism, by demonstrating that the entire universe, both on Earth and in the heavens, operates according to the same mathematically precise, physical laws. This undermined the previous Aristotelian worldview, which separated the world into a chaotic earthly realm and a perfect celestial realm governed by different, often supernatural principles. Nevertheless, it appears that after the scientific basis for naturalism and atheism was established, everything fell quiet. The Church stopped being overbearing, it ceased to lean on the Protestants with a heavy hand, and in the view of Rome at large, it was at rest, or as would be said in physics, in the state of static equilibrium. Naturalists, and atheists in most cases, in the context of scientific inquiry, uphold a time frame for the creation of the universe and life that is based on scientific consensus, spanning billions of years, not a short literal 6-day period. In other words, they don't believe in the God of the Bible, or of the God of Genesis. For that matter, they don't believe in any gods. Now, I don't know about you, but Rome did not find that belief system threatening, by any means. Even if that belief were to spread, this did not threaten the hierarchy of the Roman Catholic Church, which was paramount, and which came before Scripture, not after. Such a belief system would serve as a good counterbalance, a good option, a good alternative to Roman Catholicism, and with some luck, even persuade the Protestants themselves. The theory of gravity was how the mechanism was first introduced, the mechanism for a new creation account, that is. I once wrote an introduction to a work I never completed, and it read as follows. Quote, "The parameters invoked and relied on to answer all of the ensuing questions are simple and singular in nature, namely, that theory or any concept or phenomenon that was ever once upon a time called a theory, or that can be traced back and discovered to be in complicity with a theory at any time in the past or present, will not be given the slightest consideration at any phase in the undertaking of answering the questions that follow. If at any point during the undertaking of answering these questions theories are encountered, dutifully operating as intended, popping up unsolicited and offering all manner of supporting narratives and morsels for man's imagination to snack on, as they do, they will be summarily dismissed with prejudice, but not with prejudice to the ostensible facts and findings that are rationalized and standardized in physics, disseminated only to be venerated by the common man as a fact of life. According to a scientific consensus, but with a prejudice to the individual and collective faculties of man and his truthful sensory perception, his understanding, and his interpretation of reality. Dismissed with prejudice to foundational truths and with prejudice to the physical laws observable in ordinary life on a macroscopic level, as determined by and pursuant to the inherent rationale that the answers to the questions exhibit. Any theory encountered in this inquiry, whether innocently proposed or not, will be automatically interpreted as a calculated attempt to mathematically, verbally, or otherwise justify, subvert and displace the physical laws that govern the interpretation of man and his sensory understanding of macroscopic reality. Theories will be interpreted as an attempted appeal to the susceptible imagination of man with the intentions of exploiting it, and nothing less than that. The facts and findings of any experiment that proposes to substantiate or give credibility to anything ever associated with a theory in the chronicles of man, will be interpreted as illegitimate and abolished pursuant to the no-theory parameter. No contraption, no intrigue, no analysis, no mechanism, no scheme, no methodology or artificial creation that ostensibly contradicts the sensory perception of man on a macroscopic level, or that can reasonably be perceived as forcing the hand of nature into unnatural outcomes by brute hacking, will be open for consideration, except to be subjected to discreditation. The matter before us being contested, although very cunning in its machinations and equally calculated in its intent at exploiting and undermining the subtle nuances of nature, it was ultimately accomplished through brute mathematics, and was to be implemented and sustained by the field and authority of physics, but under the bigger user-friendly name of science. The matter before us cannot be traced back to originating, or arising from within man's cognitive capabilities, his intentions, or even his seemingly boundless imagination, but through an awareness that resides beyond man's perception, beyond the diverse glory and power of nature itself. It required a foundational and primordial wisdom, knowledge and understanding, not predicated on or motivated by the immeasurable and mostly innocent curiosity of man, nor his insights, nor his discoveries, nor by any of man's endeavors, but rather, that the field of physics, with its unapproachable, authoritative, intellectual and scholastic vibes, was selected with the great visceral and cold-blooded purpose of a rebellion, to be the agency and vehicle capable of intellectually undermining, originating truths. A rebellion rooted in hate for man and for all that can be called good, just, and truthful. A rebellion that predates the awareness and discernment of man, before light ever illuminated his retina, before sound ever entered his ear canal. Like a leopard, it waited for man, as a predator knowing all the weaknesses of its prey. From a location beyond man's perception, it listened with a frequency higher than the thoughts of man, and then, it imparted knowledge. To those who sought power, fame, and the pride of life. End quote.